So first off, hair is composed of two separate structures. There's the follicle, which you can't see, but is going to be embedded in my epidermis. And since we're talking about the hair on our head, then we call this the scalp. That hair follicle is the only part of the hair that is actually alive. And the rest of the hair that we kind of refer to generally as hair, this is all going to be the hair shaft. The hair shaft is going to be keratinized epithelial cells and is no longer living. So essentially all of our hair that we are so prized to have and maintain is really all dead cells. And this is why when we damage it, it can never really be 100% repaired. But there's got to be something I can do. And through my research, I was able to find a couple of options. But first, let's talk about how the hair is structured. So like I said, we have that living portion in our scalp, which is going to be the hair follicle. But since we're talking about hair damage, I want to talk about the shaft. So the hair shaft is going to have three different primary layers. So the first layer is going to be the cuticle. That outside layer is kind of arranged like shingles on a roof. And those shingles, just like your roof helps to protect your house from rain and from heat from the sun, the shingles on the cuticle and your hair is also going to help to protect from a minimal amount of damage. Now, it's really meant to help to protect from sun damage, but we do a lot of things to our hair with heat, blow dryers and curling irons and chemicals that hair just wasn't meant to withstand. So when those cuticle kind of shingles are damaged, then they can peel away and let all of the moisture out of that hair shaft. And this is definitely a problem that I'm having with the area that I went ahead and dyed really, really blonde. The other layer, the second layer, is going to be the cortex. Now, if we were to take a look down into the molecular level, after we leave that very thin cuticle on the outside, it is that cortex that is going to make up most of the hair shaft. So this is the fibrous area that most of our hair is made out of. There's actually a third layer too. That third layer is called the medulla. However, the medulla is kind of tricky because in some hair shafts it's completely absent, but it appears in others. But since really the damage when we damage our hair is going to be on the cuticle, sometimes down to the cortex, but that's pretty bad. So I'm just going to kind of focus on the cuticle and the cortex in this particular video. So, like I said, we have those shingles, they're interlocking in that cuticle, and when we damage our hair, they start to peel back away from each other, right? That's going to let that moisture out. But where do we get that moisture? That moisture, because these hair shaft cells are dead, has to come from our scalp. And of course, if you have long hair, it's going to take longer for that scalp oil to make its way down your hair. And there's going to be a point where there's not going to be enough of the oil coming from your scalp to help the damaged hair that you have completely turned into straw like I have. And so you're going to need to take some other measures. So because we don't sell human oil hair, thankfully, because that would be really gross, I'm going to take a look at some plant-based oils and try and see if I can start to rehabilitate that hair cuticle back to health. Like I said, these cells are dead. There's no way that you're ever going to get them back 100% fixed. But just like think of, an old wooden table. That wood that once was alive in a tree is no longer alive, but by adding oil and rubbing in the oil, you can kind of start to bring that wood back to life. Not literally as in it's a living organism, but because it'll have some shine and some luster because you're starting to moisturize those cells. That's what I'm going to try to do with the plant-based oils I'm going to experiment with. The first plant-based oil I'm going to experiment with is argan oil. Now, argan oil is going to come from the argan tree, and the argan tree is actually endemic, meaning that it is found nowhere else except for in Morocco. Now, last summer I was in Marrakesh and they sold this stuff everywhere, and I'm really kicking myself because I didn't bring any home. But after the trip, when I kind of realized I needed some help with my hair, I thought about argan oil because in Marrakesh everyone was calling it liquid gold, and this oil could cure everything from skin issues to hair issues and make you beautiful forever. I don't know about all that, but I'm gonna see if it can help kind of tame this damage that I've done to the blonde parts of my hair. So when I decided to choose an argan oil that I'm purchasing here in the United States, it was important for me to choose a brand that was fair trade, meaning that it was going to be good to the people that were harvesting it. So the particular brand that I chose is a brand that is going to source its argan oil from locals in Morocco and all female co-ops, which I thought was really cool. So that the people that are actually working in Morocco, the locals, and more specifically for this brand, the females are going to be able to support themselves as well as their families based on the purchases that I'm making here in the United States. So with this oil, usually, with argan oil, if you want to just do it for taming frizzy hair, or if there's a lot of humidity in the air and you kind of want to calm your tresses down, then you would just use kind of like a couple of drops. Because I want to use it as more of a repair mechanism, and I really want to saturate my damaged hair strands with as much oil as possible, I'm going to use more than you normally would. So I'm going to use, there's a little dropper, and I'm going to just use, you normally use a couple of drops. I'm going to use like 5 times that, because I really want to make sure that I'm saturating the strands to try to, get as much oil into that cuticle so that those individual plates, just like those shingles on the roof of your house, will stop kind of sticking up and start to lay down and get a little bit moisturized. So what I'm going to do is, it is an oil, so I'm going to kind of heat it up in between my hands and just apply it to the roots and start to apply it to the shaft. And I'm going to do this for the next 7 days. Now, because I'm kind of making my hair look really oily, it's not something that you would want to do if you're about to go out to a job interview, but it's not really important to me because I want to get my hair to stop looking like straw. So I'm going to continue putting this on in the morning and at night for the next 7 days, and I'm going to try and notice to see if there's any improvement in the ability for my hair to not be so straw-tastic. Now, it's important to note that in the journals, there has been research done on argan oil, but it's been for the ingestion or eating of argan oil. There has not been any peer-reviewed journal literature that is available for the beauty aspects of it. But what's going to be even more important is I know for a fact that trying this is not going to harm me in any way. Because you can eat the oil, I know that putting it on my hair, and if it gets on my skin, it may not do anything, right? It may not reverse any of the damage that I've done to my hair, but it also isn't going to hurt me, because you always want to be really careful of the kind of DIY stuff that you find out on the internet, and some of that stuff can be really dangerous. So join me next time in 7 days, and we will see if any of that damage has been kind of calmed down from using the argan oil every day, and I will see you next time on Beauty School Science Lab.